Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in. Alright, so this video is a quick video that I want to do to share my experience with shooting the Ket-Tec CP33 and the Taurus TX22 Competition. Now there's lots of videos out there already that compare the CP33 with the standard version of the TX22, but I haven't seen any comparing the competition version of it. So I got the opportunity to do that, and I'm going to try and share that with you all right now. So my experience with both of them is very limited. The CP33 I've had for 2.5 months. And through that 2.5 months, I put about 1,100 rounds through it. The TX22 I've had for only a week. And through that week, I put around 900 rounds through it. So take this video for what it's worth and my opinion with a grain of salt. And I just, like I said, want to share my experience with both of them and get this video out there as quick as possible. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we'll start with the CP33. This was one gun that when I first saw it, I didn't like the way it looked. It looked, for me, at least for pictures and videos, it looked like it was going to be awkwardly balanced. When I finally got my hands on it at a gun store, I liked the way it felt. And I decided to pick one up because I wanted to do the pistol brace and make it all tactical. And ended up throwing a red dot on it and really liking that red dot on it as the way it is right now. So I decided to keep it in this configuration. The TX22 is one of those guns that I've been wanting for almost, I guess, a year and a half now, ever since they came out. However, the standard version was the one that I wanted the most. The competition version of this, I really had no intentions on buying. And I bought it just because I enjoyed the red dot on the CP33. Getting the competition version and being able to compare it was something that I thought would be fun to do. So I put a burst fast fire red dot on both of them, and they're both 8 MOA. So when I did the comparison, they will be as close to each other as possible when it comes to the optics, so that there wouldn't be any issue or anything dealing with that. Mounting the optic on the Ket-Tec was easy. It just goes right on the Picatinny rail, and they're nice. They're aluminum. They're not plastic, so I love that. They're aluminum, so it gives it some weight. Mounting the optic on the TX22, it was extremely easy. The screws lined up and everything. I did have a problem with the plate underneath of it being a little loose when I first mounted my red dot. So I ended up having to put a piece of plastic under it to prevent the plate from wiggling, even when the red dot was completely mounted down. I also had a problem to where the main plate came loose when I was firing the box of Federal through it to get a good feel for it. The plate came loose and I couldn't figure out why I was shooting everywhere. And when I figured it out, I ended up taking it apart and having to throw some Loctite on it. And it's been holding tight ever since. So that was one of my issues with this. But other than that, I mounted the red dot forward of this just to give it a good feel, because this one was mounted forward of the barrel as well. And I figured, again, I'm trying to compare them as close as possible. So I mounted this far forward. And this one, being far forward, is actually something that really excites me about having a red dot on a gun. I stopped liking red dots on firearms because I would get a lot of blowback on my screen, or on my lens when I had them on the slide, and that deterred me from wanting to put red dots on any of my firearms. But because this one is so far forward and this one has all this area covered up, I don't have that problem at all. I really enjoy running the red dots on them. Now, comparing both of them side by side, when it comes to handling them both. I gotta say, I can definitely feel the difference in the grip angle. I find myself having on this one to break my wrist up to find the red dot. And on this one, I find myself having to break my wrist down to find the red dot. And that's on both of them when I take my picture or take my sights off the red dot or present it from a low ready. I literally have to either go down on this or up on this. But that's going to take some practice with both of them. And over time, I think that will eventually smooth itself out. The grips themselves, when I first got this one, I did not like this little hump in the back. I thought that was going to be a problem for me. When I was holding it, I could just feel it in the palm of my hand. After shooting it a lot, or at least the week that I've been shooting it, while shooting it, I don't even realize that hump is there. Just holding it, I can kind of feel it only because I think about it, but actually shooting it, it doesn't exist. With this one, it's a bit wide, but for me, I have somewhat of large hands, so it actually fits. And I like the smoothness of the texture on this one. I really like this having texture, but this for me works. So I really like the grips on both of them. They will work for me once I get used to them and shooting them a lot. The triggers on them, this one I prefer a whole lot more because it's really easy. It's like a 3-pound trigger on it. This one right here, according to my gauge, this one had a 5-pound trigger. The TX22, when I pulled the trigger the very first time on it, it felt great. But when I actually started putting rounds through it, like slow fire, to kind of get my red dot sighted in, I didn't like the pull on it. It was long. It was kind of gritty in a way. After rapid firing it a lot, shooting it a lot, doing the comparison side by side, the trigger smooth out and it feels great now. And it actually works a lot better. I enjoy the trigger on them both very much, but I prefer this trigger over this trigger. Next, talk about the magazines. So when it comes to the magazines, I feel like they're both made pretty cheap. They just feel cheap. Okay, I'm not going to say they're made cheap. They just feel really cheap. They feel like if you drop them, they're going to break, chip, or something. So when I have them, I feel like I need to take a lot of caution to not drop them. This one, I feel like I need to keep clean a lot more because maybe it's because I can see through it and I can see all the grime and dirt in there. And once this little feed ramp gets dirty, in my opinion, it feels like it's going to start causing some feeding issues. Will that happen? I have not run enough rounds through it without cleaning it to find out yet. Loading them, if you're going to get the CP33, a mag loader is a must. With this one right here, I find that I can throw rounds in my pocket and just load them up standing out in the field somewhere. And this one works really well doing that. This one, not so much. The mag loader, you will have to have it on something. And trying to load it single rounds, yeah, it's almost impossible for me. You may have a better experience with that, but it sucks for me. Breaking them down. So the Taurus is a lot easier to break down. I'm sure you've already seen the breakdown of both of them on the internet already. This one right here, when it comes apart, it has 4 parts. It has the slide, the barrel, the recoil spring, and the frame. This one has 5 parts, which will be the upper receiver, the lower portion of the receiver, charging handle, the bolt, and the pin which holds it together. And for me, the pin I count as the 5th because it's obviously needed to hold the gun together and make it work. I also find that the Taurus is a lot easier to clean because it doesn't have as many small crevices in it, and I'll show you a picture of that, of the Ket-Tec. It has, I'm just picky with my cleaning, so I think that's why I find it to be a little more difficult to clean with the Ket-Tec versus the Taurus, but they both clean pretty well and pretty easy. You just have to have the right things to do it with. Now, while out shooting these, I ran each one of these types of ammo through it. I usually like running the CCI standard velocity ammo through all my guns, and I like running them suppressed with that, and I like running them unsuppressed to see if it will work with it. Doing this particular side-by-side comparison while shooting them, I had to run a lot of the Federal because that's what I can find in my area right now, and it's available. So that's what I ran through it as much as I could possibly run through it. This ammo was very inconsistent while running it through it. The Ket-Tec, the Taurus seemed to run it the best, even with that inconsistency. The Ket-Tec seemed to be a little more picky on that portion of running the inconsistency of those rounds. And then I moved on to trying some of the Remington Golden bullets, and the Ket-Tec absolutely would not feed. And it's not even the gun that was having the problems. I think it was the magazine that was the feeding issue. I'll show you a picture right now of the jams that I would get. And I thought it was just a fluke off the first time I did it because the gun was dirty. However, it continued to happen with both magazines on multiple occasions. So my Ket-Tec does not like the golden bullets. The Taurus actually ate them up and ran them perfect. So in my final shoot, where I was actually trying to do a mock competition, at least what I thought would be a good mock competition for both of them, I ran the Winchesters, and these rounds ran excellent through both of them. They fed. I've only had one jam with this one, but everything else after that was actually great. So some points I want to touch on for some cons of this one. I find when I try to chamber my round, at least when I have it about 20 rounds or more, I have to chamber it a couple, or at least rack it back a few times for the round to actually go into the chamber. The Taurus, I did not have that issue at all. All the rounds fed in perfectly from the first to the last. And I don't know, I think it's just the angle of the magazine, but it didn't matter which rounds I've had with the CP33. I always had to rack it back a few times to get that very first round to feed. Now, with that being said, I think the TX22 will be a great run and gun type competition gun, at least in my opinion. While the Taurus, with its high magazine capacity, would probably negate needing to do a mag change, but the simple fact that you gotta pull the magazine out, it doesn't drop free, and having to rack it back a few times to get that first round loaded would cause a problem. At least I think will cause a problem in a running gun, to which you have to change out magazines if you were limited on the amount of rounds that you would have to have. The Ket-Tec definitely does it a whole lot better for running gun. And finally, for just quick acquisition shooting, practice with both of them I think would be great. I did, in this clips that you're going to see towards the end, some practice speed shooting, and that was a lot of fun. It was my first time doing anything like that. So with this video dragging on, I'm going to go ahead and stop right here and just say, if I had to choose one or the other one, which one would I choose? I would have to let fate decide by flipping a coin, best 2 out of 3. So that is what my opinion on having one or the other would be, is they're both great guns. I feel like you can't go wrong with either one of them, at least my opinion as of right now. So if you stuck with me this far, I apologize about the rambling on and the continuous talking, but thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the shooting, and until next time, y'all take care. For this first go, I got my target set up as what I would see as a mock competition shoot. And the first stage, I'm going to shoot the rack plate, and I'm going to do that 5 times with the Taurus and see how fast I can do it. Then I'm going to move on to the Ket-Tec. .317. 318. 288. Do it 2 more times. 371. 244. All right, let's go get the Ket-Tec. Gonna do the exact same thing, and see how it goes. We're gonna start that one off. Over, I had the safety on. 0774. We're gonna run that one more time. We're not gonna regard that first string. We're gonna do it again. Hopefully we have a flawless run. $272. $276. $295. That first round, I didn't mean to pull the trigger on that one. I had to search for my dot. That was 412. I think I have one more to go. I'm gonna do one more. Where is he? Yeah. All right. So this is round 2. I'm gonna continue with the Ket-Tec, and I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the center plate. I'm gonna do that 5 times as well. Let's see how I go from that. $484. $369. $510. $470. $476. $418. All right, so get the Taurus. Oh, last round. All right, now I got the Taurus. Let's do the same thing. I can't find the dot. $652. $390. $386. You got, I got to reload for this one. $385. $375. All right. Because I had a little bit of difficulty running the plates from left to right, I decided I wanted to challenge myself again and do right to left. This time I'm going to start out with the Taurus, and we'll see how that one goes. .383. .352. Dang it. Screwed up on that one. That was 542 with all the screw ups. Do again. .440. .339. One more time. And .350. All right, let's go get the Ket-Tec. All right, now we got the Ket-Tec. I'm not going to be running the head cam on this one because I forgot to turn it on for the Taurus, so we're just going to run it through that camera there that you're watching from. All right. .427. .394. .348. .337. One more round, I believe. I lost count, so I'm just going to do it again. .478. A lot of times when I was just shooting these, sometimes I didn't even see the dot when I squiz and I made a hit. So that was interesting.